All right, still can't get to work, so here we are. All right, so if we were looking at this information, we should know that this A is our amplitude. This is my cycle, and this is my midline, or vertical shift in this case. So it says my amplitude is 10. This one says the period is 5 pi. Well, cycle is 2 pi over the period, so that's going to be 2/5. And then it says 3, and so that's positive 3. So if I were to rewrite this, it does it say y equals? It says y equals. So we're going to say y equals 10 cosine, and then because it's my cycle is 2/5, don't forget your x, and plus 3. Okay, same thing with sine. This is still our amplitude. So if amplitude is 9, this is going to be 9. If period is 5 pi, 2 pi over 5 pi is still 2/5. And this time my shift is down 3. It already has y equals. So this time I'm just going to write 9 sine of 2/5 x and then minus 3. Okay. Really should have made you pause. I'm going to see if you can pause now between this one and the next one. See if you can find the midline. What would you do if you saw this question? So, at 3:10, this is my first one, 3:10, and my second one is at 9, 3, 9, 3. This is what it would look like. So it's telling me my max, my min, but that's my y value. That's what matters, right? And so technically I would do 2 minus 3 over 2. 10 minus 3 over 2 is 7 or 3.5. So if it's asking me my midline and my amplitude is 3.5, I can either do 10 minus 3.5 to find 6.5, or I can go up from the bottom and do 3 plus 3.5. Either way, I'm going to get 6.5 is my midline. Okay, looking at number 4. This one looks really scary. I suggest that you just take a moment. What would you do if you did this yourself? Can you see? I'm going to turn my paper just to make sure I'm on the right path here. But hopefully you take a look at this before I give the answer. Go ahead and try it. Okay, so it says, what's the approximate period? Well, a period depends. So as we know, sine looks like this. It's at 2 pi. And then cosine looks like this, up, down, up, and ends at 2 pi. That's the parent functions. We're looking for what it is. Well, since this one's pretty close to the origin, we're going to go up, down, and back, and it looks like it's pretty close to 8. Then it says, what's the approximate amplitude? Well, looking at this, the highest I see is 2. The lowest I see is -2. 2 minus -2 is 4 over 2 is 2. And then it says, what's the approximate midline? Well, since it's going up 2 and down 2, that midline is just y equals 0. All right, so use the previous to give a function. They already have f of x. My amplitude is 2. It's positive, right? We can see it's going up, down, up. Okay, so here's the tough part is my period is 8. So for me to find my cycle, I'm going to do 2 pi over 8. I can divide each of those by 2 to give me pi over 4x. And I don't need to put plus 0 because it's just the parent function. Okay, question 5. Once again, I'm going to strongly suggest you just try it first. Pause me. Thank you. So it says the temperature is sine. So I'm going to just draw a basic sine. Okay. Now it says that we're at 450 here. So I'm going to pretend that this is 415 is like my midline. Okay. This is my y equals 450. And then it says my amplitude is 15. So if I add 15, 450 plus 15 is 465. Let me just check. Yeah, 465, right? If I subtract 15, wait, what's the question? What's the highest temperature? Right there, that's going to be that max, 465. For my lowest temperature, I would subtract, and that's going to get me at 435, 435. Then it says, what's the amplitude? You could have seen that in the equation, even without us doing anything, but it's what we add or subtract from the midline. So 15, and here is the toughest part. It's going to ask you the period in minutes. Did you catch that? This is given in, what does it say? It says, this is, X is the number of hours. Okay, so that's kind of a trick within the question. Okay, it says, what's the period? Well, in my cycle is 6 pi. So if I want to find my period, I have to do 2 pi over 6 pi, which is 1/3. But that's an hour. So if I multiply by 60 minutes, that's going to be at 20 minutes. So it's saying at every 20 minutes, it's going to cycle 20 minutes. And here's the best question I want you to just seriously think about before I give it to you. It says, when's the first time that it will hit the highest temperature? It's asking you, when would it hit here? So, looking at this one, if 20 is the full, we know halfway would be 10, and half of that would be 5. It's not terrible if you know what you're doing. Okay, last one. Again, I'm going to strongly suggest that you pause and try. See what you can do. Okay, try looks like that. Okay. All right, here we go. It's a Ferris wheel question. This time it has a radius of 12. So down here, I'm just going to draw a quick. That is the best I have, friends. So technically, we think of radius this way. That's 12, but I'm going to put 12 up and 12 down. Then it says that the center is 14 feet above the ground. Well, if this whole thing is 14, that means it's 2 feet off the ground. How are we doing so far? So my lowest is 2. Let's see what my highest would be. 2 plus 12 is 14, plus 12 would be 26. It says a rider gets on the chair at its lowest point. So at its lowest point, it's 2. So my 0 is 2. And then it says, it says sketch a graph. Oh no, and completes one full rotation in 42 seconds. That means it's going to go, you're going to get on, you're going to go around in 42 seconds. So at 42, I also need to put 2. So let's talk through this. If 42 is all the way around, how long till they got to the top? Well, you'd cut it in half. You would do 2 into 42. And you'd say 21. So at 21, this one's kind of in the middle. We're going to go all the way up here to 26. Right there in the middle, because this is 21, halfway. Okay, so we know it looks like this. Very curvy, right? Oof, struggle. And let's see what else we've got to figure out. Let's just start answering the questions. The amplitude is the highest number, 26, minus the lowest number over 2. 20 over 2 is 12. And guess what? That is the radius, 12. It asked me the period. That's on the graph. This is the period, so it is 42. What's the midline? So that's the next question. Midline. If the amplitude is 12, I can do 26 minus 12 to find 14, or I can do 2 plus 12 to say 14. But either way, 14 is this midline, and it's also the height off the ground, 14. So again, just one more chance. Can I ask you to please, they want you to use f of x, so we're going to start with f of x. Can you please pause and try? Okay, here we go. So first of all, it's cosine. It's not going through the origin. It's starting down with an amplitude of 12, so that is negative 12 cosine. The period is 42, so for me to find cycle, I have to do 2 pi over the period. I can cut each of those in half, and I'm going to have pi over 21x. And then my midline again is up 14. I hope this was helpful and you do great on your test.